Okay, precious metals update here on August 22nd, right after, just about after market close has closed. It's a Monday, so this is important. The day is over, trading is over, and so we're gonna want to see what happens Tuesday. Do we get a turnaround Tuesday where we have a reversal, or do we have follow through where we continue in the same direction of the trend? We will start with the dollar index, the Dixie. I mean, my God, this is the daily chart. Look at these last three trend days. Like, boom, boom, boom. So we're probably going to get a rest soon, right? Like, you can imagine this thing can't continue. Like, this steep thing is going to need to correct at some point, even if we're going higher, which it seems like we are based on the other, the higher time frames. This is day 8 of the daily cycle, and last daily cycle was actually really left translated. Well, I mean, pretty left translated. We had a high on day 12 and we had our low on day 31. It's only day 8, so we could have some kind of really violent bearish reversal, maybe something that comes out of the Jackson Hole meeting later this week that, just as we're getting up here to make this sort of double top, like we end up making some kind of double top. Again, this is like bear porn, but it's like something like that, right? And then it's like, oh, okay, now we're going to really start the descent. Right now, we have no indication that that's going to happen. That is just like wishful thinking if you're bearish on the dollar, obviously. But what we do know is this is a really powerful rally. And so even if it is bullish, it's going to need to rest soon or at some point. Maybe it's not soon. And if we think about the weekly cycle, right, we had this we have this swing high below this candle that we stayed below for 4 weeks. So this week wasn't great. Then you had these 3 weeks of consolidation. You made a lower low. This seems to have swept out a lot of stops. And then we got a rocket ship up. We talked about this last update. And now we're getting follow through on this week. Again, it's only been Monday. So we could get bearish reversal rest of the week. This candle goes red and starts to fail out of the other side. Totally possible. But right now, this thing looks like it's heading back to multi-year highs to make a high above here, which is already a high above, and we'll look at the sort of longer term chart. So this would be week 12, I believe, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So week 12. So we could still rally for quite a bit before we get the actual ICL decline. And I mean, who knows? Maybe this was like a short little ICL. Again, these times aren't sort of mystical or anything. The most important thing of all is the 3-year cycle. We are still in the advancing phase of this current 3-year cycle, which started on January 2021. So July was month 18, August is month 19. Look at this candle in real time, how bearish that looks. And then we actually even made a new low. I'm zooming in here, you can see that. Like we just barely poked below it and then just went boom. I mean, look how bearish this is. What a trap. And so again, we have Jackson Hole coming up. There are catalysts that could turn things sharply in a different direction. And in a couple weeks we have another inflation print. We have the Fed meeting. There are a lot of catalysts coming up, but right now this thing is looking incredibly like it's moving higher. And if you look, it looks like it's sort of a magnet to this like 120 area, which is like another 10% up, which is huge for a currency, and would suggest that other assets might get crushed. So something that we want to really look at closely. And the last thing I'll look at for the dollar is the 12-year, the annual chart. So every candle here, I'll remove the drawings. Every candle here is one full year of price action. And so you can see we kind of did nothing for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, right? And this is the COVID year. So obviously that was momentous within the year. But in the context of this longer term chart, it was kind of nothing, right? You could almost call this a little bull flag off of these 3 years of rally. So this is 2014, 2015, 2016. And so we now are getting an explosion off of this bull flag is one way to interpret this. I don't think it matters. Like the point is this was like if we can even draw the lines here. All right, the lines come back if I do that. But like you can imagine, I'll get rid of these drawings. Like there was, we couldn't get above this level here. Got nowhere near it these years. Got the COVID crash almost got us up there. Then we failed out the other side. Now we've broken through, and what level is that? That's like approximately the 103 level ish. And so once we broke through that with authority, that's telling you like this. It looks like a magnet to the 120 area. Now we're gonna get at some point a pullback for a weekly cycle decline and eventually a 3-year cycle top. But until we have better indications of that on the lower time frames, you really have to be careful, check your bias at the door. And so that takes me to the gold chart. It is day 2022 of the daily cycle. You know, we did get a little bit of a bullish reversal, but not a whole lot. And day 22 is actually pretty early. I mean, no, it's not early. It would be an early daily cycle low is what I mean, right? Like if you look at the past daily cycle lows, day 47, day 33, 42, 32, 55, 37, 29, 43, 21. Like, does that, like, you're starting to see a pattern there, right? Like, none of those are in the low to mid 20s. That doesn't mean we can't bottom. Like, today couldn't have been a bottom. It's also possible that, you know, what if this is your mythical half cycle low, right? What if this is going to be a longer daily cycle? And so this is your oft discussed half cycle low, so like something like that. And we're actually going to continue to rally. Maybe it's going to be a longer cycle, like much longer than like your regular 30-day cycle. So like this 55-day cycle, for instance, you know, 40 days or something like that. Who knows? I think we have to judge the price action as it unfolds versus making too many assumptions. And if we look at the weekly, not a great sign. It's week 5. Yes, last week we printed a weekly swing high by going below the low of this candle here. I'll just draw a line there to make it sort of crystal clear. And now, what are we doing this week? Yeah, that's right. We're making another new weekly low, right? I just want to be really clear about that, right? Like, you see that? We also went below last week's low this week. So we're already below. So that means that's your second swing high in a row. This is another lower high. I hope that's making sense to people. As we make new lows on the weekly, on a chart, that creates a swing high, a bearish swing high. And so there's a lot of week left, as I talked about, reversal, you know, a turnaround Tuesday. A lot of, you know, we could see this, you know, we're already building a little wick. You could see this, and who knows, this could turn into a false breakdown, right? That could mean a move above, you know, 1802. That would be a nice little squeeze. But at this point, you're not really seeing any evidence that is what's playing out. And it is month 80 of the 7 to 8 year cycle, which means we're pretty late and we're probably still descending into that major low. If I look at silver, we're still working our way down to potentially break this swing low that was in place, as I talked about in my previous video. Definitely take a look at that in the description. And you can see same thing. We did get downside, but now we have this one. So silver has a much better, you know, so silver had a stronger little rally to try to fight off the bearishness. And so again, setting up for a bullish outside week potentially. That would mean a move above 2087 by the end of the week. That'd be a nice little move. And that'd get a lot of people kind of off sides, right? Like this could become a higher low on your weekly chart. Or excuse me, a higher low, excuse me, right? So like that. If we can hold that, then you do something like that, right? I mean, that's what the bulls are hoping for. I mean, at this point, that's your best case scenario. I mean, we'll have to see. That's certainly still a possibility. And on the daily chart, silver is on day 26, I believe it is. 27 actually. And again, possible that this is a weekly cycle low, or excuse me, a daily cycle or a half cycle low here for a longer daily cycle, maybe. What I would call your attention to is this is a bearish outside weekly candle. That usually means bad things. This is another example of a bearish outside weekly candle. I mean, you see that? We made a new high and then we failed out the other side. What do we get the following weeks? Much more downside, right? Like, this is a compound bearish weekly outside candle for all intents and purposes. This is a bearish weekly outside candle. Look at that. This is a bearish weekly outside candle. In this case, you actually got a few weeks of rally after it. But you want to be really careful here. You could have a trap door open. And finally, GDX. So GDX, again, setting up for a swing low, would need to trade above the high from today, which is 25.39, give us a swing low. It was day 20. It almost gave back this whole rally, but there's still hope. On the weekly chart, again, same pattern. I won't belabor the point. Setting up a potential bullish false breakdown. That would mean a potential move to 26.78 by the end of the week. Again, doesn't mean that's where we're headed for sure, but there's a possible setup here in the form of this pattern. If it continues to play out, we would need to see bullish follow through, right? Like we need to see more green, complete the swing low for tomorrow, and continue the advance. So that's the state of play for precious metals.